Hello, family. Hope all is well. It's been a battle for many of us around here, huh? Well, my message today that's been coming really strongly for me is that maybe it's not you particularly, but maybe those surrounding you, which is probably more of the case, more commonly, is that many of us as humans, as a collective, right, as human beings, wherever you're at, many of us have lost our connection. Many of us were born here and many of us forgot our connection as to our purpose, as to why we chose to incarnate here and within this beautiful planet. And because of that, if you see everything around you, we seem to be digressing energetically as a collective. So reason why I feel really led to speak as it becomes clear to me is that, and obviously if you resonate with this, which you should, you really should, especially if you're listening to me, you know. It's up to the one who sees the entire script, the entire show, or the entire situation of what's happening in front of us. And I'm not speaking of anything specific. I'm speaking about just like the nature of humanity. The beauty is that even as we're digressing, there's so many beautiful people in this world. You're going to find beautiful people everywhere. And that gives us the qi, the jing, as they would say in Chinese medicine, to help us to say, you know, because of these beautiful people, because of these elders, or because of these humans, or because of these children or animals and whatnot, because of the trees, because of the forest, we're here to protect. We're here to protect, we're here to conserve, we're here to give back what was gifted to us simply just by us being within this vessel, which is temporary. And I wanted to add quickly is that it's important that we remind each other, especially if there's an opening for another one to receive, because a lot of people will close the door really quick with their morality, their ethics, their belief systems, yada, yada, yada. It's a reality. It's always been like this for as long as I can remember. Is that when you speak your truth. And it doesn't even matter if somebody's there believing or not believing. If you feel led to speak, you speak because you know your words are true for the moment. Even you don't even hold on to those words. So if that's somebody that sounds like you, and if you've been working within your journey of becoming more conscious and becoming more aware of you and the surroundings, or you've been around the block many, many, many times over, hey, it's really, really important that we always keep a connection like this, you know. It's not necessarily that everyone should speak on social media. There's so many other ways. Just because I put in a couple minutes here, that's not to say that I'm not living my life in my way. So I also wanted to say is that the key from my experiences, from my perspective, is remembering your innocence, remembering what gives you joy, remembering your will of self, remembering that fire that burns, that when you find yourself working on something, on a project, whatever it is, a piece of music, if you're a teacher, you're ready to present something new and powerful in your class, the things that bring you joy, that brings you, that allows you this natural sense of servitude without even thinking of it, or the title or the label, whether you're a botanist or you're a farmer, and just to go out there and you know you're doing something where most people won't see or understand, but you and those plants, the trees, the shrubs, you guys have a communication, you know. If you're an animal lover and you have all these cats, right, or dogs, you guys have this intimate, special connection. And those are all powerful ways of connecting with source. And source, fill in the blank, can mean whatever that means to you. The word God, the English translation, many people are saying the universe. Elders or mystics say your higher self, right? And in Chinese medicine, you would say big Shen, little Shen. Shen, S-H-E-N, meaning your spirit. Your Hun means your soul. If you tap into, if you ever wanted to research, like one of the paradigms that Chinese medical practitioners such as myself, we use as a paradigm, one of several, but one of them is called the 5-element theory. And it's a beautiful theory because it allows us to work within the person's imprint and to include their soul and their spirit within their pathology, such as not just psychosomatic pathology, right? But also psycho-emotional pathology or psycho-spiritual, meaning like the psychology of your imbalances that could be physical or mental or whatever the case may be. There's an association or a connection always within your soul or your spirit per se. And using this paradigm, such as the 5-element theory, allows one to use this as a compass to be able to see and differentiate, pattern differentiate, so that we can help to treat the person so that that person could arrive to their inner truth. And this message is also for practitioners. We, as practitioners, we keep wearing that white coat and we just say we're the healers. And this is the time, there was a time for that. And I'm sure there was for many reasons. It's not the intention, but the time now is actually, you could keep wearing that white coat, but to remind people to wear theirs. Remind every single human that they are the true physician of their own being. They are ultimately responsible for their health and well-being, and to remind them that they are, within their own way, their own carpenter, in their own way of structuring their lifespan. So when someone is physically injured, emotionally injured, or fatigued, stressed, whatever the case is, whatever the pathology may be, whether it's physical, emotional, whether it's substantial or insubstantial, meaning it's in the mind and you can't like grasp it, like you could grasp phlegm, right? When you expectorate, that's like substantial. That's how terms that we use in Chinese medicine. And insubstantial is like yin and yang. Substantial is like palpable, observable, can be proven in science, like allopathic medicine. And what I guess allopathic medicine has always had trouble doing is arriving at the insubstantial. So then you had other fields of medicine that started to arise, such as psychology, psychiatric, and those are more new age attempts within our evolution as humans, and tapping into those platforms. So let's see what happens is that now you see the doctor for physical pain, and doctor says, well, physical pain, maybe you have a physical pain in your shoulder, and then now you have a headache, and you're having like frightening dreams. They seem so separate, and the doctor will separate them because that's not their specialty. It's not that they're horrible, it's that they're specializing in allopathic medicine per se. And so it's not the person's fault. It's not about fault or anything like that. And I'm not here deconstructing an entire medicine. I'm not saying that. But a true healer is one that understands, without all these fancy words, just within their heart. One who understands the ability to see the different templates of their existence. To know that there may be, or it may not be, but there may be a connection with my shoulder pain, with like some kind of a headache, whatever the case may be. Starting to see floaters in my eyes, and all of a sudden I'm getting frightening dreams. I just made that up, but those are real cases, right? And you're seeing 1 and 2 and 3 or 4 symptoms or symptomologies. So the beautiful thing about the field of like Chinese medicine and Vedic medicine too, but I'm not a specialist in that. In Chinese medicine is that you're able to pattern differentiate, to go to the crux or to the root or the causative factor, the factor that's actually causing these separated illnesses or imbalances. And having said that, many of us are not aware, right? So we go see this allopathic doctor, we got a prescription, maybe we see physical therapy, and let's say it didn't work or it worked, but then now you still have like the other issues, and now you see another doctor, right? You see an ENT doctor for this one because it's not going away, and for some kind of a headache, let's say something with postnasal drip, and you have a headache too as well, your sinuses are filled up, right? And then now you are having frightening dreams. And these dreams are weird dreams, and it's starting to stress you out when you wake up, so you're not getting good sleep. So when I say be your own physician, is to know yourself enough, just like as you have always known yourself, a remembrance that there is something within all of this that is slowing or hindering me down in my process. And as I already saw in my experiences of seeing a doctor with this particular medication or this physical therapy that may have helped, right? It's like now your journey of seeing all these other practitioners, and it comes to a point where it's like you gave parts of yourself to everyone to give you answers. And these answers are just like pieces of the puzzle, or the pieces of your body, and the pieces of your experience as a human. And you were born complete. You were born with all of your faculties of your sensory systems to be able to even breathe and have a heartbeat and to live here. And because of that, we have been separated with an understanding of separation between all your pathologies as if they exist differently. And what's crazy is that if you go to a mechanic, even a mechanic talks about the story of why this is happening, why that's happening. There's a connection to all of the anatomy and physiology of a vehicle, and that's a vehicle. So the moral of why I'm saying this is that it's not to not trust doctors. If you do happen to have 2 or 3 doctors, that's an example, you have to manage yourself. You have to be able to see that there's something else that you need to understand and see within yourself. I know it's hard and unfortunate because a lot of people don't think to go into Chinese medicine, or they don't know that Chinese medicine can treat that. So I'm not here talking about Chinese medicine. What I'm saying is that if this video found you, is to remember that your intuition, right? Your intuit is very evolved, and your body diagnostically will tell you what to do next. You may not know what to do, how to do it, and you may not even understand the language as of yet, because maybe you haven't indoctrinated yourself to listening to your body, let's say. But that's why I say being a physician to yourself, because even if you feel like you're just a student, or that you feel like you want to start to dive deeper into this, or you're curious about what I'm saying and this makes sense to you, is to like not see a practitioner. I'm not saying that. Is that you have to stand strong as if you're a practitioner in your own right, because you are a master at being in your body. There's no 2 people that you can relate to about you as an existential being, right? So you have to be able to voice your pain body experience. But if you're not connected to yourself, then that is a challenge, because that might be your journey. So what is it like the meaning of the beginning of the conversation and to where I'm led to? It seems like 2 different things I'm talking about, and they're coming together now. What I just described is a necessity, a requirement for your inner journey. It's a requirement for your body and your mind and your spirit, your consciousness, whatever you want to call it, to be no longer disconnected in this inner dialogue of yourself. That is your inner journey. And because most people would hear this and what I'm saying as a little bit alien-esque, it's because that's how we're separating. That's how we're descending as a collective. Because what I just said is like the beginning, before you even go to Kung Fu school, in the beginning, before you even take baseball or dancing classes. This should have already been integrated into your system as we were born here, because what I'm saying is nothing new. What I'm saying is already documented 5,000 years. But we've been occluded. We've been boxed in, especially if you were born in a certain part of this world, like the United States of America. But at this point, it's like seemingly all around the world. The poison or the toxicity of pure ignorance of yourself. We have been giving our self-knowing to others who study so much about it, which is powerful, just like I study Chinese medicine, which is powerful. But I have what I have, and I study what I studied, and it does not work if you're not dancing with me as a client. If you're not working with me, how do I even get better? How do I even improve, right? How do I even know what I'm saying if I don't have enough case studies with people who do not dance with me? And from my experiences, I learned, it came to me, was that I too wore the coat, right? And I too said I'm the healer, and I needed to experience many versions of who I wasn't, so that I could understand that there came a point where I started to treat people who were all getting better, but they kept coming every week. I'm not saying that they shouldn't come, but for the most part, they kept coming because I realized I was creating this, almost like this, like medical kind of a clinic, right? I didn't see it right away, where I felt like there was something missing. I felt like there was a missing component as to the person's progress within their spiritual journey as souls they are. And I started to go through like maybe depression and other down things that kind of like put me down. Why? Was because I wasn't feeling like I was meeting my ultimate purpose. So what did I do? I started to study more. I started to train with all these other beautiful people, souls, masters of within this specialty. I kept training my kung fu harder. I kept understanding the chi dynamics. I kept training, and I kept, doing all these things. And the input and the output I saw was obvious. But I was yet still able to understand my purpose. One of my purposes as to how I ascend as a being. And for me, I'm sharing it with you. I'm sharing with you as an individual. And as before I share that, this is what I want to hear from you. And you, and you, and you, and you. Through our failures, through our struggles, through the war that we've been as warriors, we share our stories. People would say testimony. And in that, I receive you, you receive me, and we can grow together in that way by sharing our stories. And this is how we can bring back our true story of humans that don't die. And you know what I mean by that? We rise. We always do. But we've become, I don't want to say submissive, but we gave away our power. We built up our bodies. We built up our minds. But we, not intentionally, we entrapped our souls, or some people say sold our souls, to the e-commerce of the false matrix, which is like the consumerism, the whole way, the whole bit in how our energy is used physically, intellectually, is what makes this world go around. And there's other higher factions that are in this understanding as to how our energy is used in the auric field, but I'm not saying that right now. I'll say that in another video. But for me, I needed to understand that people were getting used to me being the man, me being the healer, me being the acupuncturist, me being the person that had like wisdom. And every time something bad happened, they came to me. And I started to, at first I felt like, wow, I'm doing great things and I'm fulfilling my purpose. And that filled up pretty quick. It took a couple years, but it filled up, and I felt like, but what's missing? And there was a part of me that never wanted to practice again because of this, for many, many reasons, right? But to bring things in a kind of like a short snip of a conversation, partly it was because one of my purpose was to remind myself first that I am my own practitioner. Whether or not I took Chinese medicine and studied it, whether or not I studied internal Kung Fu or whatnot, somehow, some way, my intelligence would have arrived to some kind of a training with some kind of a teacher or school or institution or life. Because my soul imprint, although not conscious to me, was always going to reveal that to me. And my choices could have been like saying, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do this. And my choices are something else. But even if I chose something else, these situations would come back. They would come back, these opportunities, I would say. So at first I felt like I was stuck in bad situations that I was creating, and it made no sense. It sounded like really mental. It felt like that maybe I thought I was getting burned. And I was getting burned. I felt like I was getting burnt out by being a practitioner and working with in the field of acupuncture and whatnot. And it was because spirit within, right, including my soul tribe, they were sending out the proper messages that seemed like adversity, because I wasn't aware, for me to expand. And for me, the message is when things tend to repeat itself, big cycles that happen. Here I am 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, and I see myself, if I was a dentist, this is the best example I could say, so that people can relate, treating the same people with the same problems, with the same tooth, the same dental issues. And if I'm at peace with that, that's great, because maybe there's other things that are expanding me. That's good. Nothing wrong with that. But for me, because healing or working within the healing realm was my kung fu as far as my skill set, right? It was that I wasn't seeing something that I already knew, the power of the potential of humans. And I wanted to see big changes in people that were beyond the reasons that they saw me. And when I saw people heal for many reasons that they saw me, even autoimmune pathology, lupus, type 2 diabetes, I've seen it go in complete remission, many things like beautiful. And I got lost in the sauce with that because I'm like, wow, I'm doing things that you mostly don't even see in allopathic medicine. And I'm like, wow, this Chinese medicine is something, right? And yeah, it is something. But I was failing to see the part that the client, or you would say the patient, played in it. What I was doing this, I was not aware of my words. I couldn't say my words, but I was tapping into their quantum realm. I was simply facilitating their body's innate to heal. And I had yet the words to be able to tell them or to speak to them to help facilitate hopefully the knowledge in the beginning, but for them to be able to now go and to understand how potent they are individually within their gifts and to guide them towards their gifts if they weren't in alignment. So I needed to evolve with all of these specialties so that I could find myself years later to align myself more towards like this conversation, what we're having right here, is that whatever I'm saying is always with my intent to remind you to bring it back home to yourself. Anything in the world that can ever be revealed in the highest form, in the most beautiful way, can only be revealed from within. There are outside factors that will synergistically work with you, will tonify you, will offer us antagonism, will contrast you. There's people will shoot bullets at you. Life will happen. And life will continue to happen that way because there comes a time where you're going to have to see that as an opportunity to shake you up enough so that you can bring back and align yourself to your potential, to your joy. So the message is joy. Align yourself. You can't help your family, your friends. You can't help people out there, no matter what your license is or your certification is or your specialty is, if you do not walk and lead by example just by simply doing so. That is the most important elixir that I would ever recommend, like a Chinese herbal decoction that you can drink, which is the elixir of your own fruition, of the abundance that you bring back to you. If that makes sense, and in your way. And in doing so, this is the last part, and in doing so, you will change the matrix. The matrix, the inorganic matrix, and the organic matrix, not matrix. They will bend towards your will, towards yourself. They actually bend towards the will of your rejection of yourself, because when life is horrible, it's horrible. That's the inorganic matrix saying, your wish is my command. So once you're able to crack the code, they say, right? Once you're able to crack the code within yourself and in your way, it has to go beyond the intellectual thinking mind. It has to also even go deeper than the emotional embodiment. But you require all of those as a vessel you are to go deep enough until you find yourself within that state of emptiness in your way, through your meditation, through your crises in general. And in Chinese, they will put that Wuji state, W-U-J-I, that will be the state of arriving towards emptiness. And in that emptiness is where you will arrive to the rebirth of your liveliness. And only you can arrive towards that, and in your way. So obviously this message probably lost a lot of people. And that, no intention, no expectations, right? It doesn't matter. What matters is that those who are curious enough, mischievous enough, that something in what I'm saying makes sense in the way I'm speaking, is that at the end of what I'm saying is to remind yourself that you are the one that all you have to do is simply exist. It's always been that simple. And the challenge is to unlearn, or to, detach, right? It doesn't mean detach and escape. I'm not talking about escapism, but to no longer feed the outside forces that have been offering you hindrance, or that have been depriving you of your energy in return. Even if it's family, even if it's your grandkids and your kids, even if it's your sibling or your best friend. And if you can't get past what I just said, then, keep listening if you want to. But that is the most necessary requirement for you to be able to reset once again, if this is your case, and arriving with, what's that saying? Old Zen saying, I didn't say it myself, but I love it, is, how do you detach from everything? You don't. You naturally detach from everything by connecting with everything. Instead of finding love, instead of finding joy, instead of finding the gift that you know you're good at, be love, be joy, be the gift. That everything else that goes into your hand that you attract because it brings you joy, that's the same, is an extension of your intent. So to Kung Fu practitioners, like saying, my Kung Fu has to get strong, my body has to get strong to be able to take this heavy weapon, so that the weapon could be an extension of my intent. At the end of the day, is that whatever you're working with in this life, whether it's family, friends, making money, whatever the case may be, it has to be an extension of your true form of your vibration. And that thing that you're working with, whether it's material or another human being, has no choice but to bend towards your will. Not by you willing it, but by you vibrating at who you are. And without trying to focus on it, it becomes an extension of you. And it's easy to also get lost in that, because you feel like it's just those things that I like to do, and you get lost in the things that you love to do. But in there, be conscious enough, whether it's art, breathe with it, and realize that you are communicating with the divine. We got lost with words. We think that just by speaking, by praying, by making mantras, beautiful. But not limited to. Those mantras, those prayers are to remind you that your communication has existed before you're born and after you pass. You weren't just born in this world and just started communication. You were born in this world to start to learn how to communicate with people within the collective as humans. Because humans did digress. So they rely on your word. They rely on what you have to say, and they hold that accountable towards you. You owe nobody anything. You are accountable to yourself. And you have to be able to do that first and foremost, so that in your way you then reconnect back with the things that you love and the way you like to share, you enjoy sharing with people, so that you never have to work again, so that you can make whatever that you do in complete an alignment. Like such as work and livelihood, right? And the things that you do to make a living financially. So if enough of us arrive at this, we are potent enough with God's spark within us, right? That takes faith of the mustard seed. All you need is one. One can collapse the whole system. And as I and you and all of those other beautiful souls who are doing their beautiful magic and speaking to others in complete servitude, expecting nothing in return, do so, we change the symphony and the vibration of the forces that are trying to keep us in the sleepy state mode. And then you could choose to fight that, and what you're doing is feeding it because it's too damn intelligent. That's why I had to fight for 10,000 years. I always say that. Fought so many wars, but I had to become who I was, and so I could understand my so-called enemy. And when I realized that my enemy was the contrast of how I was created and creation within me, then I needed to understand that that enemy is no longer an enemy. It was a necessity. It was a necessity to help us to remember that this is truly a school of many schools. And Earth is a school of your self-remembrance. That is how you collapse, at first, the false matrix within your temple walls. And by doing so, you make space for divinity that becomes the prayer. And simply by being conscious and being around other beautiful souls, while other souls will drop away from you, they're going to say you're crazy because you've changed, because change you will. You invite anyone, good, bad, and ugly, to change in their own time, because you will offer no judgment to them in any way, because you can't, right? So, physician, from one to another. I hope this message resonated in some way.